Game over. It is game over.
Game over, cancer.
I'm Val Solomon, Director of Program Impact at Cannonball Kids Cancer Foundation.
And I'm Dana Nichols, Executive Director of CKC.
Game Over Cancer, a podcast dedicated to exploring conversations about pediatric cancer research, solutions, and inspiring family stories.
We're a nonprofit dedicated to creating innovative treatment options for kids fighting cancer and educating for change.
By creating a space for these conversations, we empower the community to take action and provide tangible hope.
Game over, cancer. Screw you, cancer. Today's episode is all about gratitude. We're talking with someone who is an experienced practitioner of it. In fact, I'd venture to say he invented it.
I think at this point, it seems like the inspiration when I talk to him.
I have, been so lucky to be able to spend time in you as well because he is our intern.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been with us for a few months and truly a walking embodiment of someone who is gracious and generous and kind through and through and has a positive attitude about everything.
About everything.
We get to benefit from that unique perspective because he's interning with us at Cannonball. He's coming today to share his story with us because he is also a brain cancer survivor. And we love that firsthand perspective, but we love to be able to turn around and show somebody what we're doing for them or for the next person who's in that fight.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate that Allen is so giving that he has shown up with no less than probably, 10 or 15 snacks for the office to share. They're all gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free. I mean, he's really there to have a positive impact no matter what it is.
I think that it's been a really fun in experience for all of us to see how we take what he's learning at school and put it into practice, but also what he knows so much about firsthand being a person as a teenager who went through cancer and now deals with some of the long-term side effects of his treatment, but is thriving and is a college student and is everything that we hope for anyone who gets a diagnosis when they're a child.
I think we're all learning from each other, which is what internship's supposed to be about.
We love it.
And now you get to hear his story, so enjoy. So our guest today was diagnosed with mixed germ cell brain tumor in the pineal gland of his brain in 2018. His treatment consisted of 6 major brain surgeries and 40 treatments of radiation to his skull and spine, followed by 8 months of therapy at Brooks Rehabilitation in Jacksonville. Having been through all of that and survived, he has an appreciation for medical workers and hospitals, and he wants to help give back to other children and families going through the same thing. And that has led him to be an intern at CKC. So we are very excited today to welcome Allen Roberson.
Hello.
Yay!
Hey! Very grateful and thankful to be here.
We're so glad you're here. We
We
like
are.
to hang out with you day to day. And so we're glad that our audience is going to get that opportunity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of jump in a little bit and just talk a little bit about, the very beginning. Can you talk about what started in terms of your symptoms? How did all of this start and what was going through your mind at the time?
So in early 2018, I started seeing double. I woke up one day and saw 2 of my mom as I was getting ready for school, which is pretty crazy.
How old were you at the time?
I was, I believe, 16.
Okay, yeah.
Or 15, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in my sophomore year of high school. I was in honors classes, all of that. I was an athlete, ran cross country and track, and then played soccer as well. And then it just came out of nowhere. I was preparing for track, and it just messed me up because I'd go to practice and then I'd see 2 of everything, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Scary, I bet.
It was terrifying.
So then you tell your mom, like, Mom, I see 2 of you. What's happening?
I woke up that one day and I was like, I'm not crazy, but I see 2 of you. Is that normal? But we went from there. We went to the ophthalmologist and set out a little plan from there.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it's hard because seeing double, and we find this a lot, like seeing double could be something that maybe is an easy vision fix or something like that. So what takes you from this is scary, but probably something simple to, okay, this is going to be a really big deal? And when did your mindset shift in there and you realize that?
So we realized it was a lot more serious when we went to the ophthalmologist at Walmart, and they said my prescription didn't change at all.
Mm.
And then my mom was like doing all the YouTube research, asking questions, and not YouTube research, Google research.
Mhm.
And Google doesn't have anything good to say sometimes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we then made an appointment to Tomoka Eye Associates. I think it's in Ormond or somewhere.
Mhm.
And then they saw no change in my vision that was too serious.
Mhm.
So then they made a referral to Nemours in Jacksonville.
Mhm.
Then I was like, ooh,
Ooh,
what's all this
nice.
about?
Yeah.
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 And so then you saw somebody, did they run scans, or what was the next phase of that?
That was the day my whole life changed.
Yeah.
We went to the ophthalmologist at Nemours for an early appointment, and we did eye exams for like 4 or 5 hours,
Wow.
which was it was a lot. And then it was late at night when the doctors and everyone else was about to like go into night shift, like all the workers were going to change and start their nightly routine. And then the ophthalmologist was like, I didn't find anything, but I'm going to request an emergency MRI.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
Right.
And my family was shocked too. So it was kind of a lot of emotions all in one tiny little day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so you have the MRI and they figure out there's a tumor in your brain and they come and tell your family that. What was that like, the diagnosis and just having the carpet ripped out from under your feet where you were
Yeah.
standing, I would imagine?
It was very, very stressful to the second power, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. The MRI took about 3 hours. They did MRI without contrast and then with contrast.
Mm.
I didn't even know what contrast was when I
Right.
did the MRI. And then they took me and my family up to Weaver 4 of Wolfson's, which was the cancer floor. And then I was like, I don't know what's going on. This feels crazy and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So when I saw all the doctors, the ophthalmologist, and like the whole team show up, I was like, something's wrong.
Mhm.
Can't be good to
No.
have the whole hospital in your room
No,
on the
Mhm.
cancer floor and really know whatever's happening is life-changing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It was terrifying.
And I know that in conversations that we've had that your family and particularly your mom has been a source of strength for you and support. So tell me a little bit about those early treatment days and how your mom and your family kind of rallied around you. Because I have to say, before we go much farther, you have one of the most optimistic outlooks of
Yes.
anybody I've ever met. So at somewhere in there, I feel like it was kind of tested and became a part of your convictions. So tell me a little bit about your mom and your family supporting you during those days.
They were like my backbone throughout treatment. They were by my side 24/7. It was just a blessing, and just I appreciate every single moment I had with them because they were like my cheerleaders. And I felt like the star player just going through treatment like that. It doesn't sound fun, but it was fun to have, a little community in the rooms with you and all through the process.
Mhm.
My mom, my sister, my brother, and my dad were in the hospital with me whenever I had chemo and all that kind of stuff. So it was just, we all went through the same journey together kind of thing.
I imagine there's a closeness there that sticks with you. So I know we're jumping around a little bit, or I am, but what does that look like today? Knowing you all went through something so specific together.
We are closer than ever. We were close from the start, but I feel like going through that tough time together and as a family, you grow more chains, more memories, and more values together, which I feel is important. And it's amazing.
Beautiful.
Awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit about your cancer, which is very rare. I mean, we're talking about brain cancer, but we're also talking mixed germ cell. And so I think only 1 in 7 kids face it every year. I wonder what it was like, what you might want to share with the audience about being someone who's come through that and survived it, and just your thoughts on having such a rare cancer and surviving.
It was definitely worrisome when we first got the diagnosis and they said only about 7 children get diagnosed with it a year. I was like, so what's treatment like? Is there even a treatment?
Mm-hmm.
But it taught me and my family to be very much optimistic and, have hope for something to arise or for something to go well, for treatment to go well. And it also taught me and my family to stay in like a positive attitude 24/7. I'd say that was the major thing that I learned throughout treatment. Whether it goes good or bad, if I'm still breathing, there's nothing to complain about. But that was just my mindset throughout treatment because it helped me. I learned to be very much more grateful for life, for the little things, to even wake up. And it made me just feel so blessed and honored, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely does.
Yeah, it's incredible. Have you met anyone who's had the same type of cancer as you?
I think I've met one person. It was similar, but not the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But I think it was mixed germ cell tumor in the brain, but I can't remember names or anything.
Yeah.
It was just like a foundation in Jacksonville where we met them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we talk about that sometimes. The cancer world is small. It feels isolating to have cancer. To be facing the rarest of cancer, it sounds so wonderful to have a family who is there to support you when you're 1 in a million. One in a, I don't know math as much.
I don't know.
It's more than a million, right?
One in many.
One
Yes,
in
yes.
many. And so I'm so glad for you to have your family and speak so beautifully about that when you're talking about something that you're truly on your own, forging your own path with, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of moving forward after that, what are we talked a little bit, offline about some of the side effects that you have from both your cancer and the treatment of it. I wondered if there's anything that you wanted to share with the audience about things that you kind of deal with on the day-to-day, even now as a survivor.
Yeah. So I'd say getting tired, fatigue, all that kind of stuff plays a big role in my side effects and things. I still have a little bit of double vision. I'm not too sure if you could look, but I could my eyes like shift side to side when I focus and when I don't focus. And my processing speeds have, kind of, I don't know what you call it, delayed or gone down, which is troublesome when you're trying to get an education in college, any kind of, education. But that's not going to stop the journey. That's not going to stop anything.
I think it's so, well, we obviously know you as a UCS student, so I think that's amazing. But take me back a little bit to going back to school, being in high school, knowing you're going to finish and being like, okay, do I get to go to college now? Do I get to go be a normal, college student?
That getting back to school, back to high school was insane. So my treatment was rough, and then I did cognitive and physical therapy for a couple months, and then I just went back to high school and I just sat in offices because my teachers were so understanding, and I loved that. Even though I wasn't doing the same thing that I was like freshman and early sophomore year, I was back in school, at least going there every day. And it felt so good after being in the hospital for so long. I felt quote unquote normal again.
Yeah.
And it was just so much joy. Yeah. Did I answer that?
Yeah,
Okay.
you did great.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think, when, your milestones might be similar to what they were before, but
Mhm.
so much more meaningful, I think,
Yeah.
You're probably looking forward to a lot of different things, but also very similar things, right? Yeah.
So you decided to go to UCF.
Yes.
Talk to us about, as you're moving out of your cancer journey now, going to go be a grown-up,
Yeah.
what you start thinking, oh, wait, I got to make a plan for my life. And what does that look like?
Yeah. So when I finished treatment and all of that situation with my diagnosis, I was like, how can I give back to the community after I've been through this kind of thing? Because I feel like that's kind of what we should or have to do in life, but that's just me. I wanted to come back and find a way that I could work with organizations, foundations, maybe even hospitals and labs, clinics, to spread awareness, to help share valuable data that is important to patients, to fundraisers, and to raise awareness as well as maybe even money for people in the future, because it's such a tough thing to go through, but when you have all that support behind you, it feels like just the best journey. You learn so much lessons, and I hope to be an inspiration to some people, not even going through cancer, but to just everybody in general. We should go back and help people that go through the same challenges and journeys that we go through.
Well, you're speaking to two nonprofit nerds, so
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say we agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I mean, we agree, but it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's something to, everyone should give back or wanting to feel it, but actually pushing through to do that is really commendable.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And in such a brave way, too, because I remember being at Intern Pursuit when we were like, it was our first time, and we were just trying to figure out if this was going to be a great way to find some folks to help us out at CKC. And Allen walked up and he was like, I'm glad you guys are here. I'm a brain cancer survivor. And we were like, because you remember, we were like, oh, we're going to meet some really talented college kids. It didn't occur to us that we're going to meet pediatric cancer survivors. It should have, but it wasn't like high on the expectations. We were just, there to find some interns. And we were like, oh my gosh. And you want to do this? Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah. It was awesome to meet you, and I think, you clearly wear your heart on your sleeve, but to wear your cancer on your sleeve, so to speak, and be like, hey, I'm really interested in this, was like, oh yeah, sure. This is a perfect matchup. How do we, move forward on that?
I'll tell you all a little quick story about Intern Pursuit.
Yeah.
I looked at the list and I saw y'all. I was like, I gotta go to them. So I went to the other tables to practice my little intro. I was like, okay, I gotta make it. I want to make this perfect. But I met y'all and life happened. So I'm so grateful for that.
So if you were at Intern Pursuit and you recognize Allen, just know you were the practice table.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Not like that.
I'm kidding. Oh my God. Oh, well, I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah.
And it really did. If I don't know, in terms of us thinking about how internship was going to go for us, this is our first time really, recruiting and having interns in-house and putting a program together, right? Because you can have people come and volunteer and help out the organization, but to have people who are maybe interested in working in nonprofit, trying to learn your systems, it's a little bit different, right? It's a little bit deeper than just, hey, can you, do this basic task really quickly. It's more, making sure that we have something in place for you to actually learn something about nonprofit life. And so we were going through that, and it's been, I think, a really wonderful surprise, and I won't say challenge. It's been a delight, I think, for us to then look at what we had planned and think, and will this work for someone who is a survivor and is trying to do this?
Yeah.
And I think that, it has helped us. I think we're very good at making sure there's a work-life balance, making sure everybody's okay with the stuff that they're coming in contact with in terms of content, but also just knowing that you as a survivor might have a good day or a bad day and may not want to plug into your story in a certain way, or might need a break from it, and just like working with you to kind of understand what that it looks like for you has been, I think, serving our internship program as well.
Yeah, I think too, that's where I think for any internship, it's okay, all this stuff I've been learning about in books, how do I put this in? What does it look like when people put it into practice? But I think that extra layer that I always am interested in when we're working with you is, and how is coming up in the cancer world, coming back to it from a different perspective, working for you? So I think it's a two-part question here, which is, how does this line up to what you hoped it would when you're saying, I want to have a career that gives back? And then also, how is it as a survivor stepping back into the cancer world in a different place?
How is it coming back into the cancer world? It's definitely a hard thing to do, but I feel like if we want to give back, nothing should hold us back, if that makes sense. And then what was the second question?
Just in general, how are you finding being in the nonprofit space, doing some kind of communications work with us? Because that's really what you're studying at school. And then when you go to internship, I feel it's like, is this real? That's what they're talking about?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's difficult, but it's fun for the most part. You know, we learn at school certain things, but when you could apply it in real world, it's a lot more easy. Not easy, but like you enjoy it more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think practical application certainly outweighs reading how it works in a book any day, for sure.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we've been in it for a while now, but, you know, in some aspects, we're just like, I really feel like our audience needs to hear this piece or this story or this way of saying thank you. I really feel like that. But until you try it, you honestly don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, you coming into this internship and just seeing how much you live in gratitude every single day, kind of, you know, we were thinking, well, we should really put him on something with stewardship related, because that's all we're doing within stewardship is telling donors thank you and, you know, making sure that they understand the impact that they've had. So working with you to put your story into a frame of reference for CKC donor gratitude, I think has been really, really helpful, and hopefully has given you a little bit of an idea of what that looks like, to like what that process looks like when you're working with families.
How do you think, you know, working in that space of telling your story from a place of gratitude, which as Val says is very much who you are, but now telling your story to a lot of people, how has that felt for you?
It was definitely overwhelming, but I've done it in the past to help foundations, organizations spread awareness. I've even spoken at ncer's to like all the doctors, workers, and I think donators, which was very overwhelming, but I feel like it's all for the better of the future, if that makes sense. As much as I think I said this earlier, as much as you go through challenges, try to benefit the world or try to benefit the area that you've been through after. I don't know if any of that made sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, trying to help make the world that supported you feel supported afterwards and make it better. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's the wisdom that you bring to every day that you come into CKC and every project and task that you help us out with. And so we're very, very grateful. And I think, you know, just hearing the feedback from people who have read your story and been like, oh, yeah, this is why we invest in research, is so that kids can grow up and do what they want to do when and be healthy enough to be able to follow their dreams, whatever they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered if you wanted to talk through some of the more, if anything surprised you about working at Cannonball, or just in general, showing up to the office all the time. What's been the most surprising piece?
Don't say our amount of snacking.
Yeah.
Just like how friendly and open y'all are. I don't know if that's like a good thing to say. No, I feel like that's a good thing to say, because when I think about internship, I think about like in an office, you're on speed dial with whoever else and you're doing work 24/7. You're doing work, but you're having fun at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It not only makes sense, it's really feeding our ego.
Well, I think, and if I like pare down into it, it's like, if I think I'm going to the office, it's a serious, and we're doing this thing, and this is a really tough environment and mission. But I think, one, we all like each other. But two, we want you to feel like part of what you're doing. So I think we think it's important for you to feel like you're part of the team when you're there, which kind of rubs off on that, you know, having fun or whatever. But also just so you know, like, okay, so we're doing this and here's why. And that requires a bit of conversation, not just put stamps here on this.
Yeah.
So,
but we do appreciate when you put stamps on envelopes.
A lot of stamps.
A lot of stamps.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of stamps lately.
Yeah. Like when I thought about internship, I was like, there's going to be a to-do list. There are to-do lists, but I thought it was going to be like you walk in, look at the to-do list and get to work. But it's like y'all are so welcoming, so like helpful and supportive. It's just amazing.
Thank you. We're really glad you feel that way because that's important to us. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Well, I feel wonderful about this interview so far. And I wonder if, you know, there's anything that, you know, as we're thinking through, you know, the work that you've done at CKC, I feel like when you first started with us, you had this idea of where you might be going and what you might want to do. I wonder if the work behind the scenes at a foundation like ours has sort of fed into, oh yeah, absolutely, this is where I want to head, or I think I have a little bit clearer idea of what that path looks like. What is your today, sitting here today, and it can always change. What does your path look like forward after your internship, after college? What are you thinking now that you have some experience?
Finish college for sure, and then work with another organization or CKC in the future. Just putting that out in the universe.
On camera.
Recorded. And just helping raise awareness for other people that are going through cancer, help spread awareness for, you know, everybody, because I feel like as a team, we can work together towards a better treatment.
100%.
Absolutely. And I know that I have all of CKC behind me when I say it's our staff, it's our volunteers, it's our donors, it's our researchers, all on that team that are all each doing their part. And we're just so grateful to be able to share Allen's story about survivorship and treatment, and how you're coping and thriving afterwards. I wonder if there's anything that you want to say to our listeners as like a takeaway message from your story. What do you hope they hear in hearing your story? What do you hope that they can take away from listening to this episode?
I'd say through life, always be hopeful and positive that you or somebody else will make it through. That brought me all the way through my journey to where I am today, and it has helped me every single day, if that makes sense. Which
Wonderful.
I believe that makes sense.
It does. You do make sense. You're very, very inspiring to us every day.
Thank you.
Well, I think as we close out, I want people to understand that Allen is why CKC is here. That helping kids become adults like Allen is exactly why we need to invest in research so that there are treatments available for every child and those 7 kids a year who face what he faced and the thousands of kids a year that face all types of cancer. So we are full of people who learn the reality of pediatric cancer and take the first scary step to make a difference. So if today is your first day with us and you heard from Allen and now you really understand the problem of pediatric cancer, what we're up against in this fight, we hope you'll join us. So we only can move forward if we all work together and move that needle on pediatric cancer and the treatments available. Share this episode with someone that you feel like needs to learn more about this, needs to hear a moment of inspiration from the most optimistic person on the planet who has been through more than most of us ever will before he turned 18. So please go to cannonballkidscancer.org. Allen's story is on there and so many others, and the mission and the understanding of what we do and how we invest in research to make change. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yep. And if you're looking for something even easier, leaving a review on our podcast will help us educate for change.
Absolutely. Thank you for being part of our fight. Until next time, I'm Dana Nichols.
And I'm Val Solomon.
And we will see
you later. Join us as we transform fear into courage and turn adversity into opportunities for change.
If you want to be involved in the conversations that create change in the world of pediatric cancer, take a moment, share, like, and subscribe.